He gave the wrong answer to the right question, and the question outlived empires. Thales of Miletus said that everything at bottom was water. He was wrong. Yet that mistake helped redirect human thought. The same danger appears in ordinary life. We hunt for correct answers inside broken questions. By the end, you'll know why his failed theory opened a door to science, how to recognize a better question, and why wisdom still demands looking down. What did a wrong man see that correct thinkers missed? Consider a familiar trap. A project keeps getting delayed, so the question becomes, what is wrong with me? That question may produce answers. Lazy, undisciplined, afraid. Some might even be partly true, but each answer turns the problem into a verdict. Ask instead, at what exact moment do I start avoiding this? And what happens just before? Now the mind has somewhere to look. The first question demands a label. The second searches for a mechanism. Unclear instructions, exhaustion, fear of being judged, a phone within reach. Those causes can be tested and changed. A bad question can make intelligence work against you. It recruits memory, logic, and imagination to defend an assumption that was never examined. Thales matters because he disturbed an assumption at the scale of the world. Thales lived in the Greek city of Miletus in the 6th century BCE. We know him through writers who came generations later, so the historical figure is partly hidden behind reputation and legend. He did not invent curiosity. He did not single-handedly replace myth with reason. Ancient people observed nature, calculated, navigated, and argued long before him. The change attributed to Thales is narrower and more radical. When asking what lies beneath the changing world, he sought an answer within the world. Aristotle, in the Metaphysics, reports that Thales treated water as the underlying principle, and held that the earth rests upon water. The decisive move was not simply choosing water. It was treating nature as something that might be explained through a common natural basis, instead of ending the investigation with a story about divine intention. That did not require rejecting religion. It changed what counted as an explanation of physical change. Why water? Thales left no surviving explanation we can securely read. Aristotle speculated that the idea may have come from seeing that nourishment is moist, that living things depend on moisture, and that seeds have a moist nature. That reasoning does not survive modern chemistry, but it is recognizable. Look across many different things. Search for what they share. Propose one cause beneath their visible differences. This is where the mistake becomes interesting. Everything is water compresses a chaotic world into a claim another mind can attack. If water is fundamental, how does fire arise? What about dry stone? Does the earth literally float? The answer creates pressure for better answers. An isolated fact can sit untouched for centuries. A bold, explanatory question starts an argument, and an argument, when reality is allowed to judge it, can become a method. Think of the difference. Someone who knows the correct time of sunrise possesses a useful answer. Someone who asks what makes sunrise predictable opens a path toward models of the heavens. The first answer solves a moment. The better question organizes future discovery. Thales's theory failed as a description of matter, but the kind of question attached to it, what stable process or substance could explain change, proved fertile far beyond him. There are levels to thinking. At the surface, is this answer correct? Deeper, what mechanism could produce what I see? Deeper still, what kind of explanation am I willing to accept? Thales may have lost at the first level. Water was not the answer, but at the deepest level he helped alter the rules. Nature could be investigated as an ordered problem, not merely endured as a mysterious event. That distinction appears everywhere. A company asks, who caused the failure, and gets a correct name. The blame may be deserved, yet the process remains fragile. Another team asks, what allowed one person's mistake to become a system-wide failure? Now, permissions, incentives, missing checks, and bad handoffs become visible. The better question does not erase responsibility. It prevents responsibility from becoming the end of thought. In a relationship, how do I make them understand assumes that understanding is the missing piece. Sometimes the other person understands perfectly and disagrees, or understands but does not trust, or trusts but wants something incompatible. The question quietly decides which answers are permitted. That is why changing a question can feel threatening. It may remove the version of the problem in which we are innocent, in control, or guaranteed to win. Still, there is a danger in celebrating Thales too quickly. Being wrong is not secretly the same as being brilliant. Bad theories waste time. In medicine, engineering, and politics, they can destroy lives. A question is not valuable because it sounds deep, and a person does not become wise by rejecting whatever everyone else believes. Romanticizing error is how curiosity hardens into identity. The value of a better question is that it makes correction possible. It points toward observation, exposes assumptions, and permits an answer to fail. What natural basis explains this can be challenged by another account of nature. What hidden force wants this to happen? Can absorb almost any outcome and protect itself forever. The useful question does not merely generate answers, it creates conditions under which weak answers can be removed. And now the story turns darker. In Plato's Theaetetus, Socrates tells an anecdote about Thales walking while studying the stars. He fails to see what is directly before him and falls into a well. A witty Thracian servant woman laughs. He is eager to know the heavens, yet cannot see what lies at his feet. It is an ancient philosophical anecdote, not a confirmed event. The image survived because it hurts. The thinker sees patterns invisible to everyone nearby, then loses a fight with the ground. Plato uses the joke as part of a broader portrait of philosophical detachment from ordinary affairs. But the warning reaches beyond philosophers. A person can understand markets and ignore mounting debt, study communication and never apologize, design a 5-year life while neglecting today's promise. The mind can use depth as a hiding place. Analysis feels productive because it produces motion without exposure. No awkward conversation, no imperfect first attempt, no result that might wound the ego. A grand question can become an elegant shelter from a small duty. So the well does not prove that looking upward is foolish. It proves that intelligence has a direction, and attention aimed in one direction leaves another unguarded. This complicates the lesson. The world needs people willing to look beyond immediate appearances. Every serious discovery requires some distance from daily noise. Yet, abstraction carries a cost. The farther thought travels, the easier it becomes to mistake coherence in the mind for contact with reality. A beautiful theory may explain everything because it has stopped risking collision with anything. Wisdom needs altitude. It also needs feedback. Ancient tradition gives Thales a second story, almost a reply to the first. In Aristotle's Politics, Thales is mocked because his poverty seems to prove philosophy useless. According to the anecdote, his knowledge of astronomy lets him anticipate a large olive crop while it is still winter. He gathers a little money and places deposits on the olive presses in Miletus and Chios when demand is low. When the harvest arrives, demand surges. Thales controls access to the presses and rents them out at terms favorable to him, making a large profit. Aristotle's stated lesson is that philosophers could become rich if they chose. Wealth simply is not their main concern. Again, this is an ancient anecdote, not confirmed biography. It may have been shaped to answer the charge that abstract thinkers are practically helpless. Taken together, the stories create a more useful Thales than either story alone. In one, attention rises so high that the body falls. In the other, knowledge of the sky becomes leverage on Earth. But even the success story has a shadow. Cornering access to essential equipment demonstrates practical intelligence. It does not automatically demonstrate justice. Grounded thinking still needs an ethical direction. The question is not simply whether an idea works, it is what its working does. So how can this be used without becoming either the dreamer in the well or the clever person who turns insight into exploitation? Try the Thales test on a problem that keeps returning. First, what does my current question already assume? Second, am I seeking a verdict or a mechanism? Third, what evidence could prove my favorite answer wrong? Fourth, what fact at my feet am I avoiding? Suppose the recurring problem is focus. Why can't I focus? Assumes focus is a possession some people have and others lack. A better question might be, during which tasks does my attention break, after how long, and what do I do next? Now there are observations to make. Perhaps attention collapses only when the next action is ambiguous. Perhaps interruptions are designed into the room. Perhaps the work matters so much that avoidance protects self-esteem. Then comes the ground test. Change one condition today. Define the next physical action. Remove the phone for 20 minutes. Send the difficult first paragraph before polishing it. The experiment may fail, but failure now carries information. That is the difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection returns with evidence. Rumination circles above the same landscape, feeling elevated, never landing. Thales did not transform thought by handing humanity a fact it could keep. His achievement, as later tradition remembers it, was more unsettling. He treated the world as available to explanation from within itself. Once that question existed, his answer could be discarded without losing the advance. Water could fail. Inquiry could continue. The strongest questions survived their favorite answers. That resolves the contradiction. A correct answer matters when it helps us see reality. But a better question can matter more when it changes where we look, what counts as evidence, and how error gets corrected. It does not excuse being wrong. It makes wrongness useful by giving the next mind somewhere to begin. The goal is not to become attached to questions. The goal is to become more reachable by reality. Take one problem that has followed you for months. Write down the question you keep asking. Then replace it with one that reveals an assumption, searches for a mechanism, risks disproof, and leads to one concrete action before the day ends. Thales's water disappeared as an answer. His way of asking remained. Pause. Ask the question that opens the sky. Then check where you're standing.